Today I want to show y'all a little trick with these direct injection engines that is going to be a pretty required maintenance. Turn this down a bit. Shut up. Alright, so the problem with these direct injection engines is that with older engines like the Camry, the 03 right here, you have your injectors up in your intake manifold, and that would keep your intake manifold and your valves clean, even though your emissions hose is breathing excess current cage pressure and oil vapors into the intake to regulate and then burn off any of the vapors more cleanly, right? And even in a carbureted, it's the same design. You know, you have your carburetor with the gas, which is, of course, a cleaner. And it'll strip oil and grime and all that. Well, what happens with these direct injected, you don't have that going on, right? You have the oil vapor going into the intake and then hitting the searing hot valves and on the intake valves. And what happens is this carbon buildup, it's not quite completely hard, but it's mostly hard, and it's damn near impossible to get off. And save for gasoline, which of course no gasoline gets to it. No matter what kind of gas treatment you use, nothing helps, right? Because none of it's getting to the carbon buildup. And then, you know, if you leave bacon on an iron skillet, and you let it burn and burn and burn, and you peel the bacon off, that layer that's still on there, man, it's near impossible to scrape off. Well, that's basically what happens to your intake valves, right? So then it's building up on the valve seats as well as the valves, the seat of the valve, and they won't seal anymore, and you start losing compression. And what manufacturers have finally started noticing as these cars start getting up in mileage is that they're having problems as early as 30, 40, 50,000 miles in the turbos, and maybe a little later with the non-turbos. But being that the turbos have excess crankcase pressure and blowback from the piston rings and the excess cylinder pressure, they're pushing more of that oil vapor in there, compounding the problem. And of course, as the rings wear, it's only going to get worse. And then they're having to pull the engines apart, pull the heads off, and do valve jobs because the misfires get so bad. So anyway, Toyota has addressed this as well as several other manufacturers with their new models. Now, their older ones, there's really nothing you can do about the older ones except for extra maintenance, preventative maintenance, which I'm going to show you. But Toyota used an idea that I had thought of from the understanding of the situation, where they'll put an extra injector or two up in the intake manifold to supplement the other 4, 6, or 8 injectors. That way it helps to keep the intake clean. And of course the extra gas is measured by, you know, the system, and measured in the O2 sensors and the exhaust, and accounted for with your primary injectors. So your fuel mix is still stable and the same, right? Now with these older ones, the only thing to do is either wait till you need a complete head job, which is thousands of dollars, or you can get a catch can system for a couple $100. Or you can do what I'm doing here and make your own cleaning service ports. Now they do sell this, right? I guess it's backwards on the video, but it's intake valve and turbo cleaner, and it's for direct injection engines to absolve that problem. And you're supposed to spray it in the intake. The problem is there's really no good place to spray it, and honestly it needs to be sprayed in directly as possible to be as close as I can be to your intake runner ports right here. See? That way they go directly in, hit the valves, and clean the valves out. None of the plastic runner space really matters as much as the valves do. The valves are going to be your main problem. So, that being said, what we did, I made some little service ports right here. And I'm going to flip the camera now so you can see. Now you can see your vacuum lines running. One port goes down there by the throttle body, and another goes in down there pre-throttle body, and that's going to be your clean air line coming from your air box hose. I mean, it's really not that much different from an old school carbureted or whatever, except you'll have some of these little directional valves like that that keep it, you know, the turbo pressure from backfeeding and whatnot into the crankcase or whatever. So you have a couple of those, but really it's the same basic design. So anyway, the closest that you can get to clean the intake and valves out to where it goes straight in, because this is liquid, so a lot of it may run down if you do it further down. But if you do it here, it'll suck it in and be far enough to kind of scatter and clean it out in all your ports and your valve seats. But we just drilled really, really small holes in the plastic runners in the very center, right? And we used it about the same diameter, maybe a hair larger than the straw. See? So that we can stick the straw in there with it running and do a little squirt here and there. Squirt, squirt, squirt. And also I found that if you do it conservatively, you don't want to dump it in there, but you can pour something like this, the STP fuel injector cleaner in the black bottle, the concentrate. You see it treats up to 28 gallons. Very strong. And remember I said if you pour it in the gas tank, it's not going to help because none of that is getting to the problem because of the direct injection, right? But if you put service ports, right, all you have to do is pour a little in the cap, and as you pour it in the cap, you can get next to it with that one open, and the suction will pull it in gradually, and you can tilt it up, and it'll be mixing with air and kind of vaporizing as it goes in there and hitting it and cleaning it out. And you'll want to go through each one at a time, and you can clean them out that way. So what I'm going to do, I'm about to show you that trick in action, right? So we'll get up here away from the motor, away from the exhaust, and we'll make a mess, but better there than down here, because I don't want to catch on fire, right? And I'll show you real quick. Well, now, not gonna lie, every once in a while doing this, it may throw the check engine light. I don't see it, but it's telling me the hood's open and whining about it. So, be prepared. You'll probably throw a code. Sometimes it doesn't. It may not. If you do it gradually to where it doesn't misfire very bad, then it probably won't. But, and I'll tell you, this thing started misfiring at about 40,000 miles with my grandmother driving it. So that's hardly ever hit boost. And it was already starting to misfire at idle. And it didn't throw a code, but sitting in idle, man, you could have your hand on the steering wheel and you could feel it, especially when it was cold. And now it's running like a sewing machine. So, you know, that tells you right there that it helps a lot. It probably saves the car from going in for a major service job. So, yeah, y'all keep that in mind. And of course, clean your vents out here. Try to. When you got it open, checking it all out. Oh, and also suggest an Optima battery, because these are a nightmare to get to. And those gel battery, any type of AGM or gel battery, whether it's a store brand, OEM, or like an Optima, is going to last, especially if it sits sometimes, like this one. But I'm going to have to find another screw because I dropped the screw. But that's the beauty of it. It's just a regular, any kind of little self-tap screw or wood screw. You know, as long as it matches your hole and it seals up tight when you screw it in to hold vacuum, then you're pretty much good to go. Just don't drop them. Or at least drop them somewhere that it doesn't matter, like I did. That's always a plus, so that it doesn't get anything. Freaking bug just bit me. Die. Bite me again. Haha. So, I figured I'd let you guys know. Good info. Hopefully that'll keep y'all out of a shop longer. So, as always, have a good one.